Have you ever stood in your back garden, watering can in hand, looking at your beds and thinking, why is nothing really thriving anymore? You water, you feed, you mulch. You do what every gardening book tells you to do. And still, the seedlings look weak. The leaves go yellow. The soil stays wet on top after rain, but somehow the plants still seem thirsty. You push a fork into the ground, and it feels like concrete. The compost you spread months ago still looks almost untouched. If that sounds familiar, you are not doing something wrong. This is happening in gardens and allotments all over Britain. Our soil is tired. After years of digging, heavy rain, compacted clay, dry summer spells, shop-bought fertilizers, and not enough real organic life going back in, many gardens have lost the one thing plants need most. Not just nutrients, life. Today I want to show you how to spot tired, lifeless soil and how to start bringing it back with 3 simple, old-fashioned, low-cost liquids you can make at home. No expensive gadgets, no harsh chemicals, no back-breaking work. Just biology, patience, and a bit of common sense. Because your soil may look like ordinary soil, but if the life inside it has gone quiet, your plants will struggle, no matter how much you feed them. Healthy soil is not just dirt, it is a living world. In a single handful of good garden soil, there are bacteria, fungi, tiny insects, worms, and all sorts of microscopic life working together. They break down fallen leaves. They turn old roots and grass cuttings into plant food. They open little channels for air and water. They help the soil hold moisture in summer without turning into a bog in winter. That is what a good British garden needs. Not soil that is always wet. Not soil that dries like brick, but soil that breathes. When that hidden life disappears, the soil becomes tight, sour, and stubborn. It may still look brown and ordinary on the surface, but underneath it is struggling, and your plants feel it straight away. So how do you know if your soil is in trouble? There are a few signs. The first sign is water sitting on the surface. In many parts of Britain, especially where there is clay soil, rain can sit on the ground for ages. You water a bed, or we get one of those long grey weeks of drizzle, and the water just hangs about. It does not soak in properly. It forms puddles. The surface goes shiny and sealed. That tells you the soil structure has collapsed. It has lost those tiny open spaces that let water move down and air move in. The second sign is hardness. You put a fork or spade into the bed, press down with your foot, and it barely goes in. The tool bounces back. The ground feels compacted, heavy, and dead under your boots. Roots cannot push through that easily. Worms do not enjoy it. Air cannot move through it. Good microbes struggle to survive. The third sign is mulch that does not break down. You spread leaves, straw, grass clippings, or compost on the surface, and months later it still looks almost the same. It is just sitting there. Not melting into the soil, not disappearing, not being pulled down by worms. That usually means the workers are missing. The fourth sign is no worms. This is one of the clearest signs of all. In good soil, especially in a damp British spring or autumn, you should find worms quite easily. Not always hundreds, but enough to tell you something is alive down there. If you dig a small piece of soil and find nothing, no worms, no movement, no crumbly texture, that is a warning. And the fifth sign is weak plants. Seeds come up, then stall. Seedlings sit there for weeks without putting on growth. Leaves look pale. Plants wilt quickly in warm weather. Vegetables flower too early or never really get going. You may think the problem is a lack of fertilizer, but often the problem is that the soil cannot make use of what is already there. Think of it like a kitchen full of ingredients, but no cook. You can have flour, vegetables, herbs, and spices sitting on every shelf, But if nobody is there to prepare the meal, no one gets fed. That is what happens in tired soil. There may be nutrients present, you may even have added compost and feed, but without the living organisms that process it all, much of that goodness stays locked away. This is why adding more fertilizer does not always help. Sometimes you are feeding a system that has stopped working. First, you need to wake it up. I learnt this the hard way. Years ago, I had a patch of ground that behaved like a slab. It was heavy, compacted, and miserable. In winter, it was sticky and waterlogged. In summer, it baked hard and cracked. I added compost. I added bags of feed. I dug it over. I tried to improve the drainage. Nothing really changed. Then I came across an old idea used in different forms by traditional growers, smallholders, allotment gardeners, and natural farming systems around the world. It was not about forcing plants to grow, it was about bringing life back to the soil. And the first liquid was something most of us pour down the sink without thinking. Rice water. Yes, the cloudy water left after rinsing uncooked rice. It looks like waste, but for the soil, it can be a gentle starter. When you rinse rice, a thin layer of starch comes off the grains. That starch makes the water cloudy. It also provides food for certain helpful microbes, especially the sort involved in fermentation. Used properly, rice water can help kickstart microbial activity in tired soil. It does not replace compost. It is not magic plant food. Think of it more as a wake-up drink for the underground world. Here is how to make it. Take 1 mug of uncooked rice. Any ordinary rice is fine. Long grain, basmati, short grain, whatever you already have. Put it in a clean bowl or jar and add about 2 mugs of clean water. Stir it well with your hand or a spoon. Really move the grains around. You want the water to turn cloudy and milky. That cloudiness is the starch coming off the rice. Then strain the rice. You can still cook the rice afterwards, so nothing is wasted. Pour the cloudy water into a clean glass jar. Now this part matters. Do not seal the jar tightly. Cover it with kitchen paper, a clean cloth, or a coffee filter, and hold it in place with an elastic band or string. The liquid needs to breathe. If you shut it away with no air, the wrong kind of bacteria can take over, and you may end up with a foul smell instead of a useful ferment. Leave the jar somewhere out of direct sun, at normal room temperature, for 2 or 3 days. A cupboard, pantry, or quiet corner of the kitchen is fine. After a couple of days, it should smell lightly sour, a bit like yogurt, sourdough starter, or fermented vegetables. That is a good sign. If it smells rotten, like bad drains or rotten eggs, throw it away and start again. Do not worry. It is cheap and it happens. Once it smells pleasantly fermented, it is ready to use. Dilute it before applying. Use 1 part fermented rice water to 10 parts clean water. Then water the soil around your plants, or over empty beds you want to improve. Do not spray it all over the leaves. This is mainly for the soil, not the foliage. Use it on tired beds, raised beds, greenhouse borders, containers that seem stale, or an allotment patch that has stopped responding. Within days or weeks, depending on the weather, you may notice small changes. The surface may take water better. Mulch may begin to darken and soften. The soil may feel a little less tight. Seedlings may look less stressed. This is not a miracle overnight cure. It is the first spark. Your soil is remembering how to live. But once the soil begins to wake up, your plants often need a second kind of support. Not just minerals, signals. Plants are not machines. They respond to natural compounds, enzymes, and growth hormones produced by living systems. This is one reason a plant growing in healthy compost-rich soil often looks better than a plant given only a chemical feed. So the second liquid is a fermented plant extract. Some people call it fermented plant juice. I like to think of it as a homemade tonic made from strong, fast-growing plants. The idea is simple. Plants that grow vigorously contain natural growth compounds. Young nettles, comfrey, dandelion, chickweed, plantain, and even fresh grass clippings are full of energy. They are actively growing, which means their tissues contain the sort of natural substances that support growth and recovery. In Britain, we are lucky because these plants are everywhere. Nettles behind the shed, dandelions in the lawn, comfrey near the compost heap, chickweed in damp corners, grass clippings from the mower. Instead of seeing them all as waste, we can use some of that vitality. Here is how to make a simple fermented plant extract. Choose fresh, healthy green growth. Nettles are excellent, but wear gloves. Comfrey is brilliant if you have it. Dandelion leaves, plantain, chickweed, young weeds and fresh grass clippings can all work. Avoid anything diseased. Avoid weeds that have gone to seed. Avoid plants sprayed with weed killer or collected from polluted roadsides. Gather roughly 1 kilogram of fresh green material if you want a decent batch, but you can make a smaller amount too. The method is the same. Chop the greens finely. The smaller the pieces, the more easily the juices come out. Put the chopped greens into a clean container and mix them with brown sugar. Traditionally, this is done by weight, using the same weight of sugar as plant material. So if you have 1 kilogram of greens, you use 1 kilogram of sugar. If you do not have scales, mix in enough sugar so the plant material becomes glossy, damp, and well coated. The sugar draws juice out of the plant cells. This is the same principle as making jam or salting cucumbers. The liquid that comes out is what you want. Pack the mixture into a clean glass jar or food-safe bucket. Do not cram it in too tightly. Leave a little room at the top. Place a small weight on top if you can, such as a clean saucer or a clean stone in a bag, to keep the plant material pressed down gently. Then cover the container with a cloth. Again, do not seal it tightly. Fermentation needs to breathe. If you trap gases inside a sealed jar, pressure can build. At best, it makes a mess. At worst, the container can crack or burst. And nobody wants fermented nettle juice across the kitchen. Leave it somewhere cool and shaded for about 5 to 7 days. Not in full sun, not beside a radiator, just somewhere steady. Over the week, the sugar will pull out a dark, strong-smelling liquid. It may be brown, greenish, or almost black, depending on what plants you used. It will smell sweet, sour, earthy, and a bit strange. That is normal. After about a week, strain it through cloth or a fine sieve. Squeeze out as much liquid as you can. The leftover plant matter can go on the compost heap. Keep the liquid in a clean bottle. Now, this is important. Do not use it neat. It is too strong. Dilute it well before using. A safe starting point is 1 part fermented plant extract to 50 parts water. In ordinary terms, that is about 1 tablespoon in a large watering can, depending on the size of your can. Use the diluted liquid to water around the base of plants. You can also use it as a gentle foliar feed, sprayed onto leaves early in the morning or in the evening when the sun is not strong. In Britain, we do not always have blazing sunshine, but on warm days, leaves can still scorch if sprayed at the wrong time. This tonic is especially useful when plants look stuck. Tomatoes that have gone pale in the greenhouse, courgettes sulking after a cold spell, brassicas that were checked by wind, beans that need a lift. young plants that were planted out too early and got a shock. Use it every couple of weeks during active growth. Do not overdo it. More is not always better. Gardening is not about shouting at plants. It is about giving them the right message at the right time. Rice water helps wake the soil. Fermented plant extract helps support growing plants. But the third liquid is the big one: compost tea. Now, this is a phrase that gets used in all sorts of ways. Some people mean a bucket of compost soaked in water. Others mean a carefully aerated living brew. For improving tired soil, the living version is the one we want. Good compost is full of microbes. Compost tea is a way of moving some of that life into water, encouraging it to multiply and then applying it across the soil. Done well, it is like sending in a rescue team. Bacteria, fungi, and other tiny organisms help break down organic matter, improve soil structure, support roots, and compete with some disease-causing organisms. They also help produce natural compounds that bind soil particles together into crumbly little aggregates. That crumb structure is what we want. It is what turns heavy clay from sticky blocks into something more open. It is what helps sandy soil hold on to moisture and nutrients. And it is what makes a bed easier to work without constant digging. Here is a simple way to make aerated compost tea at home. Start with clean water. If you use tap water, fill a bucket and leave it standing uncovered overnight. This allows much of the chlorine to dissipate. Chlorine is added to make drinking water safe. But when we are trying to grow microbes, we do not want to make life harder for them. Use mature compost. It should be dark, crumbly, and smell like woodland soil. Not sour, not rotten, not like manure. Do not use fresh manure for compost tea, especially in a family garden where children, pets, or edible crops are involved. Fresh manure can contain harmful bacteria. Keep things safe and use finished compost. Put a generous handful or two of mature compost into a breathable bag. An old pillowcase, a muslin bag, or a paint strainer bag can work well. Tie it up and place it into a bucket of water like a giant tea bag. Add a small amount of food for the microbes. A tablespoon of unsulfured molasses is often used. If you do not have that, a small spoon of honey can be used, though molasses is better if you can get it. Now you need air. This is what makes proper compost tea different from a bucket of dirty water. Use a small aquarium air pump with an air stone, the sort sold for fish tanks. Put the air stone in the bucket and let it bubble continuously. Let it brew for about 24 hours. During that time, the water should stay aerated. You may see a light foam on the surface. That can be a good sign, though lack of foam does not always mean failure. The smell is more important. It should smell earthy, fresh, and alive. If it smells foul, rotten, or sewage-like, do not use it. After 24 hours, turn off the pump, remove the compost bag, squeeze it gently back into the bucket, and use the tea straight away. Do not store it for days. Once the air stops, the microbial balance changes. The sooner you use it, the better. Water it onto your beds, around plants, between rows, and onto tired patches of soil. You can also use it as a leaf spray, especially for plants prone to fungal problems, but strain it carefully first so it does not clog your sprayer. If lifting a big bucket is too much, make a small batch. A few liters is fine. Your back matters more than making an impressive quantity. So what happens after using compost tea? You may not see fireworks the next morning. This is not that kind of gardening. But over days and weeks, the soil begins to shift. Water soaks in more evenly. The surface crust softens. Worms begin to return where there is food for them. Mulch breaks down faster. Roots explore more deeply. Plants handle dry spells better because the soil can hold moisture without becoming waterlogged. In a British garden, that balance is everything. We deal with wet winters, cool springs, sudden warm spells, and increasingly dry summers. Some years, the beds are too wet to walk on until late spring. Other years, we are talking about hosepipe bans by July. The answer is not to keep buying stronger feeds. The answer is to build soil that can cope. Living soil drains better when the rain will not stop. Living soil holds moisture when the weather turns hot. Living soil supports stronger roots, and stronger roots support healthier plants. And healthier plants are less tempting to pests. They still get nibbled. This is Britain. The slugs will always have an opinion, but strong plants recover better. So now you have 3 simple tools. Fermented rice water to wake up tired soil. Fermented plant extract to support active growth. Aerated compost tea to bring a wider community of soil life back into the garden. Use them gently. Do not throw everything on at once every day. Start with the rice water on tired beds. A week or 2 later, use compost tea to add more life. Use fermented plant extract during the growing season when plants need a lift. And keep feeding the soil with real organic matter. Autumn leaves, homemade compost, grass clippings in thin layers, well-rotted manure if you use it safely, leaf mold, chopped plant waste. Mulch that protects the surface from hammering rain and summer sun. Because these liquids are not a replacement for good gardening, they are helpers. They work best when the soil has something to eat. Think of the soil as a village. Rice water wakes the village up. Fermented plant extract encourages the crops to grow. Compost tea brings workers back into the fields. But the village still needs food, shelter, and care. So do not leave your soil bare if you can help it. Cover it with mulch. Grow green manures over winter if you have the space. Avoid walking on beds when they are wet. Use boards on heavy clay. Try not to dig deeply every year unless you really need to. Let worms and roots do more of the work for you. This is slower than pouring on a quick fix from a bottle, but it lasts, and it brings back the joy. Because gardening should not feel like a fight with the ground. It should feel like a partnership. When soil is alive, everything changes. The fork goes in more easily. Rain disappears instead of sitting in puddles. Seedlings stand up straighter. Leaves deepen in color. Compost vanishes into the earth. Worms return. Beds begin to smell fresh and earthy again. And one day, you step outside with your mug of tea, look at the garden, and realize it is working with you again. Not perfectly. Gardens are never perfect, but alive. And that is the real secret. You do not need to force your garden into life. You need to create the conditions for life to come back. Start with one bed, one bucket, one simple brew. Your soil is not dead forever. It is tired, and with the right care, it can wake up.